Hello again, everyone. Welcome to Washington Gun Law TV. I'm Washington Gun Law President William Kirk. Thanks for joining us. Hey, this is going to be a video for Massachusetts. Now, Massachusetts, I know we've only talked a couple of times in the past, and there really is only a couple of ways that a state like Massachusetts, clear on the other side of the country, ends up on a channel like Washington Gun Law. Number one, you guys have done something so totally awesome, whether it's your state government or law enforcement, to preserve the inalienable rights of your citizens, that we just feel the need to give you a big old attaboy. That's not what happened here. The other way is you do something so nefarious and evil to disarm your citizens that we need to spread the word so that the cancer that is your state legislature doesn't spread to other states. That's exactly what we're going to be talking about. And candidly, if you guys think you got it bad, you're in Illinois, you're in California, Washington, Oregon, consider this. How bad would it be that if your state legislature was trying to disarm you, your state law enforcement officer was actually supporting them? That's what's happening in Massachusetts. Don't believe me? We'll show you how. So today, let's spend a few minutes and let's talk about the state police department that supports civilian disarmament. Okay, so this is what we are talking about today. We're talking about the legislative session kicking around in the state of Massachusetts. Now, for those of you who have, for whatever reason, geeked out on what's happening in Massachusetts over the last few years, you will know that, number one, they don't really like lawful and responsible gun owners. They don't really like citizens to empower themselves. And so the folks in Massachusetts have been living under an iron curtain of civilian disarmament legislation for quite some time. Now, as if matters couldn't get any worse, one would think, last year, the Massachusetts House of Representatives introduced H4135, an absolutely atrocious 94-page piece of civilian disarmament that had all of the gun grabbers' typical little, things that you find on the wish list. Now, that bill was passed rather unanimously out of the House, but that's kind of where it stalled, all right? Now, come to find out that the Massachusetts State Senate, well, they got a much better bill. They have introduced it this past week, and they are pushing for a vote on it within a week. So Massachusetts, if by chance you're geeking out on this video, you better start contacting your state legislators right freaking now. Now, here's the thing. This bill that comes out of the Senate, it has all the usual suspects. It has all sorts of new laws to restrict ghost guns, as they call it in Massachusetts. I like to call them unserialized firearms. The ATF actually calls them privately made firearms. Apparently, according to your state legislature, you got a rash of violence being created by these untraceable firearms. There is all new harassment, protection orders, things like that, other ways for people to be disarmed on a civil nature rather than on the criminal nature. There is a massive expansion of your red flag laws in this bill, including additional individuals who can now petition the court to have you disarmed. There's a whole new ban on assault weapons, which I'm not quite certain what the hell your state can do to ban them any more than they've already banned them, but apparently the Senate bill is going to have that. There's a whole new list of sensitive places. That seems to be a real common one that we're seeing with a lot of the gun grabbers right now, is these sensitive places areas. So there's going to be all sorts of new restrictions. Now, one of the good things about the Senate bill apparently is it will allow some of the municipalities and counties, if they so desire, to opt out of some of these sensitive places. And then also it would ban anything that increases the rate of fire on a firearm, so your Glock switches, FRTs, wide open triggers, and things like that. Now, that's just a real thumbnail sketch. I didn't want to get too deep into the bill without making this video way too long and boring you all to death. But Massachusetts, here's the big deal, and this is the thing that caught our attention here. You see, when the House passed H4135, your state law enforcement agency spoke out vociferously against it. There was not a single law enforcement agency that supported that legislation, which arguably is why it probably stalled out when it got over to the Senate. However, and this is a huge however, Massachusetts, your state law enforcement agency is actually in on it this time. You don't believe me? Take a look at all of the articles. We're going to link them all down below there for you. But as you can see, during the announcement of this new Senate bill, a bill designed to disarm you, the lawful and responsible Massachusetts residents. The chief of your state police association, he was right there for the presentation himself. Agawam Police Chief Eric Gillis, who is the president of the Massachusetts Association of Sheriffs and Chiefs and Police, worked on this legislation and was there when the Senate was unveiling it. This, since we've started this channel, marks the first time that we've ever seen a predominant state law enforcement agency actually stick up for and promote and further civilian disarmament legislation. Even in Illinois, we saw a ton of sheriffs push back against the governor's disarmament regime there with the passage of the Protect Illinois Community Act. Even in California, we rarely see law enforcement agencies stand up and actually promote the civilian disarmament legislation that's kicking around in their state capital. Even here in the state of Washington, although our governor and attorney general have run roughshod over us, no, the Washington State Patrol and our associations of chiefs of police and sheriffs had stood strong in support of our inalienable rights. But Massachusetts, you now join an elite list of one state that we can find where actually the chiefs of police are crying for your disarmament. What's most interesting, though, is that the police are supporting this bill, and this bill does almost exactly the same thing that H4135 did. The only difference is that rather than taking 94 pages to disarm you, this bill takes only 35. Listen, we will keep you really closely posted, but I got to tell you, Massachusetts, if the House was willing to pass 4135, they're certainly going to be willing to pass this ever so slightly watered down and shortened version. This law is likely to become a reality. If you got any other questions about this or anything else related to what's left of your Second Amendment rights, you guys should know how to get a hold of Washington gun law by now. If you don't, that's okay. That information is down there in the description box. Now, in the meantime, let's everyone remember that part of being the lawful and responsible gun owner, like we talk about all the time here, is to know what the law is in every situation, how it applies to you in any instance that you may find yourself. Until next time, thanks for watching. Stay safe.